With me is Sudan's ambassador to India. So, welcome to WION. It's great to have a conversation with you. And the first question to you is about the relationship, the India Sudan relationship. I know your country is going through a very bad time because of the ongoing conflict, but what is your expectations in terms of this relationship with New Delhi?
Well, thank you very much. Uh, the Indian-Sudan relationship is very deep and is rooted back in history. The two countries actually enjoy excellent relationship. It goes back actually since the independence of Sudan in 1956, and immediately afterwards we established diplomatic relations with India. And even, by the way, before we established these diplomatic relations, we had the opportunity to have very close, actually, contact with the Indian delegation, for example, in that conference of the non-aligned movement in Indonesia, in Bandung, that famous conference where our delegation actually met with the Prime Minister of India at the time, Jawaharlal Nehru, and so I mean, this is very goes back to a long time in history. The Indian Sudanese community, it's a large community in Sudan. They have settled in Sudan since a very long time, and they became actually part of this relationship. Immediately after this war, actually, this campaign actually of terror unleashed by the militia started in 2023. The Indian government actually reached out to the Sudanese government, seeking actually cooperation in evacuating this community. There are, thousands of Indian Sudanese members of this community. The two governments actually cooperated to evacuate this community from Sudan. India also actually stood by Sudan in this crisis. Immediately after the breakout of this war, India actually sent humanitarian assistance, 25 tons of medicines by special Air Force flight. That was only 1 month after the war broke out in Sudan. And then that was followed by another shipment of medicines, was just received last month in Port Sudan. These are medicines for the treatment of cancer. We are expecting also to receive a number of hemodialysis machines that used actually for the treatment of the kidney failure patients. This is a generous also humanitarian assistance coming from the Indian government, as well as a considerable number of artificial limbs also will be sent along with a team from India to Port Sudan to assist in these operations actually in Port Sudan. So, I mean, in short, India has stood actually to our side in this crisis. We very much appreciate that. The most important thing as well, the Indian embassy, India decided to keep its embassy open and running in Port Sudan despite the difficult circumstances there in Sudan. But the government of India was amongst those countries which insisted in keeping their embassy open in Port Sudan. And this has been very important to us, even as Sudanese, because this embassy now is issuing visas to the patients who come to India for medical treatment. India now is #1 destination for medical treatments for the Sudanese patients. So the Indian embassy in Port Sudan is doing a great job now actually facilitating this process to the Sudanese patients. So all in all, we very much appreciate all these steps taken by the Indian government. We believe that there is a huge potential for the bilateral relationship between Sudan and India, especially now. I guess we, now after the advances the army is making on Sudan, recapturing all the areas which had been under the control of the militia before. Things are coming back to normalcy gradually. And of course, this needs a lot of effort for reconstruction, for the restoration of services. And this also represents a good opportunity for the relationship with India, because as we all know, India now is a major player actually in terms of the economic power, in terms of technology, in terms of the very vibrant private sector that is eager to do business with the outside world. So I think this represents also a good opportunity for us to work on it. I guess the relationship is promised with more development and more advancement while things are coming back to normalcy gradually in the country.
So you have explained in a significant way how do you see the relationship and India's support to your country. But now breaking into various parts, you mentioned about the Indian mission. The Indian mission continues from Port Sudan, and this was the port that played an important role in also evacuation of the Indian nationals when the conflict broke out in 2023. But when it comes to the Indian mission in Khartoum, I believe that the mission came under some kind of assault. If you can perhaps talk about it, and also if you can talk about, do you hope or do you expect the Indian side to open or reopen its mission again in Khartoum now, since, as you have pointed out, that the conflict is now taking a backseat with, of course, the government taking control of Khartoum?
Well, you rightly mentioned it. Indian embassy in Khartoum has been attacked by this militia. Actually, this was no exception of what the militia has been doing. It has actually, this militia has unleashed a campaign of destruction, of terror, of looting. I mean, across the board. They, since April 2023, and by the way, today marks the second anniversary actually of the beginning of this assault and this terror campaign by the militia. They have spared nobody. This militia. They spared no diplomatic premises, no civilian facility, whether it's a hospital, whether it is a house, private house. I mean, the scale and the magnitude of the barbarism and ruthlessness that has been exposed by this militia is unprecedented in the history of Sudan. Since they started this campaign of terror, they committed massacres against all sorts of civilians. Genocide. Genocide has been committed against specific ethnic groups, and this has been proved actually by the reports of the United Nations and by the United States as well, and other organizations. They are using sexual violence as a weapon in the war, systematic mass rape of women and girls, including children. Children as young as 1 year old were raped, according to a report issued a couple of weeks ago by UNICEF. Looting, destruction of, as we speak now, they are actually attacking an IDP's camp. This is a camp for the internally displaced persons in Darfur near Fashir city. Since Friday, last Friday, in 4 days, now they have killed more than 450 people mostly women and children, among them 9 humanitarian workers, which actually prompted the United Nations to issue a strong condemnation statement, and other organizations as well. As we speak, they are targeting the power stations in Sudan.
You said that more humanitarian support is going to reach. You talked about the artificial limbs as well. Any timeline you're looking at?
Well, we have started the process, thanks to the cooperation we are finding here from the Ministry of External Affairs. They are very supportive, actually, working with us on this. We started the process, and now the Indian Embassy in Port Sudan is engaged, actually, with the health authorities there to work out the details of, because this is going to be a camp with experts going from here, along with the considerable number of limbs, and they will do the operations there in Port Sudan. So, I mean, the preparations are done jointly by the embassy, Indian embassy there, and the Ministry of Health in Port Sudan. I don't have specific dates, but the process has started already, and I am following it up with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Port Sudan. But I expect it to take place soon. And also, if I may, I mean, we very much thank, as I said, India for this support and for this assistance. We look forward, actually, to engage with the Indian side on more kind of projects, not only humanitarian. For example, we believe we may invite some Indian companies to go and start, actually, manufacturing these kind of things in Sudan, whether it's artificial limbs, whether it is medicines. By the way, India is #1 exporter of medicines to Sudan. We import, I mean, the biggest volume of imports of medicines come from India to Sudan. So India is very important source of medicine, very good, very important destination for medical treatment. I mean, for the whole health sector, India is very important. Instead of just, I mean, working together on humanitarian basis, I think we can do more in terms of joint investments in this sector. Indian hospitals definitely can have a good market there in Sudan. 80% of the hospitals now have gone out of service because of the attacks they have been exposed to by this militia. They are targeting these civilian facilities everywhere, hospitals, schools, power stations, and despite the fact that there are great challenges now in Sudan, but these challenges provide opportunities as well. So we can work together, actually, in addressing these challenges, and it can be definitely a win-win formula whereby we can have. We believe that we share so many similarities with the Indian people and Indian culture, and that makes it easier for us to work out these formulas and reach a satisfactory equation whereby we can work out this together.
So my final question, you mentioned about the artificial limbs. Basically, these are known as Jaipur foot here in India, and India has sent artificial limbs to many conflict areas and country who are in need, including, of course, Syria as well. But essentially, on the medicine bit, do we expect any consignment going from India?
Well, we just received the second consignment, as I said, last month. We haven't been notified or informed about another shipment in the pipeline, but we will very much appreciate if we have one again coming to Sudan. We all hope that this conflict ends soon. And in order to, we need to go back to normal kind of relationship, not as I said, not this kind of, just humanitarian assistance. And we believe that, in order to end this conflict, again, let me send a message here, actually to the international community and to some of our partners. We need also the international community to enforce the Security Council resolution 2736, which demanded that the militia lift its siege on Al-Fashir. Al-Fashir is a city where now these attacks on the IDP camps are taking place, where the killing now is going on as we speak. So there is a Security Council resolution passed last year demanding that this militia ceases its siege and attacks on Al-Fashir, but hasn't been, of course, enforced. Also, we need the international community to designate this militia as a terrorist organization. It is even beyond a terrorist organization. Actually, what this militia has done in our country is unprecedented. We have never seen anything like this before. The fourth thing is that Sudan has actually submitted a roadmap to the United Nations asking the United Nations Secretary General to adopt and to start implementing this roadmap. This is the way that we believe the conflict can end. This is the only way that we can reach a ceasefire if this roadmap is implemented and adopted, and we encourage and we urge the international community, all our friends, to support us in this roadmap, and we are open to any discussions, any deliberations about this roadmap and how we can implement it together and how we can use it to end this conflict, this bloody, this brutal campaign of terror that is being now actually waged by this militia on the Sudanese people. It is not a war against anything, it is a war against the Sudanese people. Mm-hmm. This is how we see it. This is how it has unfolded. So, I mean, the best way now to address the conflict and resolve it is to adopt this roadmap which we presented to the United Nations.
Mm-hmm. On that note, sir, thank you so much for speaking to WION and extensively talking about the relationship, your expectation from the relationship, and how India is reaching out to Sudan. Thank you so much, sir.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
With video journalist Neeraj Patel, Sidhant, Sibal for WION in New Delhi.